What's up guys, welcome to the video. Today we're just gonna cut right to the chase. We have a home glute workout. I don't think I've ever filmed and uploaded a at-home workout, but I really do enjoy doing at-home workouts as long as I'm in the zone. That's the key. So, you know, you gotta get mentally prepared, put some good music on, and get after it. This one had me sweaty and tired, like I totally underestimated it, so I know it's gonna be killer for you guys. I'm also going to offer some variations for more beginners versus advanced people, so you can totally tailor it to your abilities, your endurance, your strength, all that good stuff. And for this video, I used all products from ProSource. So while I didn't use any sort of like free weights like dumbbells or barbells or anything, I did use a resistance band set, which is super awesome. It has like a door mount, ankle straps, handles, and then I also used some ankle weights, and I also used some mini bands. So you guys have seen the mini bands in the first two parts of this booty building series, and then this is part 3. If you haven't watched 1 and 2, part 1 is a activation series, which you can still perform before this workout and make sure your glutes are nice and ready. And then part 2 is a gym workout, and then this is part 3, an at-home workout. So all these products are from ProSource. I will link them down below, and I partnered with them for this workout. One thing I really like about the resistance band set is that they're very sturdy, and like the handles aren't flimsy at all. Everything is very durable and well made, and it's also pretty lightweight, so you could even take this in your suitcase when you're traveling. Like let's say you're going to a hotel or a place that doesn't have a gym available. This would be a great option for you, and it's very compact, lightweight, portable. Obviously you don't want to be carrying like dumbbells and stuff around with you, so this is a great option. With all of that said, we're going to jump into the workout with a informative voiceover, and you will definitely be seeing Ollie in there. He's currently causing trouble, so try not to get too distracted by him, because I know that was a struggle for me. Enjoy the workout, and please be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Welcome to the voiceover, guys. This workout is going to be very adjustable to your skill level, to your strength, your endurance, your time, all of that good stuff. So feel free to make adjustments as needed. But for the most part, I did 3 to 4 sets of 15 to 25 reps of each exercise. Now, the reps will vary based on the difficulty, based on your strength, all of that good stuff. So feel free to adjust, but that's what I did for this workout. You could also do it in kind of a circuit style if you wanted. Totally up to you, but either way, this is a really good basic set of exercises that you can do to grow your butt at home. So the first thing that I did was a little bit of an activation superset. So I did some banded fire hydrants. This works your outer glutes, training that abduction range of motion. So you really want to feel a squeeze on the outside of your glutes and keep things nice and controlled. I did about 15 on each side for these, and they're called a fire hydrant because you're kind of mimicking like a dog peeing on a fire hydrant. You get it? You get it? So after that, you want to move on to some donkey kicks right away. Again, with the band, you're anchoring it under your front knee and then kicking up with your back knee. This is hitting more of your glute med, which is the largest part of your glute, your gluteus medius, and kind of helps create that shelf that we all like. So that's what the donkey kicks are doing. Again, this is a activation superset, just to get things firing optimally, get a nice burn going before we really jump into the meat of the workout. Once I did that, I moved on to using some ankle weights for the donkey kicks. These ankle weights are from ProSource, so I'll link them below, but basically all you have to do is strap them on around your ankles. These are super versatile. You can use them for some other things as well, which I'll show you later. But for this, I'm just putting them around my ankles as intended and doing some donkey kicks. For this, you want to think about pressing your the sole of your shoe into the floor at the top and really squeezing your glutes. For all of these quadruped, which means you're on all four, all of these quadruped movements, you really want to focus on keeping your core tight, keeping that belly button tucked into your spine. You don't want to be swaying or putting unnecessary pressure on your lower back. So make sure your core is tight, your shoulders are nice and locked, everything is nice and stable, and the only thing that's really working should be your glutes. take your time, make sure you're feeling a nice squeeze, a nice burn, and I also recommend pausing at the top of each rep just to really get the maximum contraction possible. That's a major key when it comes to growing those glutes. Next up, I moved on to some banded hip thrusts. So for this, you can use your couch, you can use a chair, an ottoman like I'm using, but basically you want to have your shoulder blades resting on something that's about the same height as your shins. So as you can see, when I thrust up, my body is totally parallel to the floor, and that's kind of what you want. I started off by doing these with just my body weight and the band. The band is what's going to force your outer glutes to stay activated. You're going to need to force your knees out, and by doing so, your outer glutes are staying under tension. So use a band, just start with body weight to get things firing. Pushing through the heels, you can see some of these reps I even let my toes come off the floor to kind of exaggerate this, but you want to be pushing through the heels and thinking about tucking your pelvis under at the top of each rep. Again, pausing to make sure you get that maximum contraction. Once you feel like you have that locked down, you can move on to using a little bit of weight for these. So I kind of repurposed the ankle weights and put them across my lap for this one. I really like this because it adds some resistance, but you're still being able to really focus on quality contractions, quality reps. And again, you want to think about tucking your glutes under at the top, and that's called a posterior pelvic tilt, and that will really get your glutes firing and contracting the best possible. And for these home workouts, you're not going to have a lot of weight, you're not going to have a lot of resistance, so quality of reps and quality of contractions is really, really, really important. And this is really true with any sort of glute training, but especially when you're using lower loads like this. Again, doing 3 to 4 sets of 15 to 25 reps on these. Additionally, you could also make this harder by putting your feet on the raised surface. So for me, that would be the ottoman, and your back on the floor. That just increases the resistance because you are kind of loading above your body and making it a bit more difficult. Those are called elevated glute bridges, but it is kind of the same movement pattern as these hip thrusts. Next up, I moved on to some sliding reverse lunges, starting off again with just body weight, and these are pretty challenging just with your body weight, so definitely don't feel bad if you're not ready to add weight to these yet. But all you really need is one slippery surface and one soft surface. So if you have a hardwood floor or linoleum floors, you're going to want like a towel or a rag. And then if you have a soft surface like carpet, you're going to want something like a paper towel, or there are real sliders for this. But basically you just need to be able to slide that back leg down and back up. So this should be working only your front leg, and you want to have as little weight as possible in that back leg. It's really easy to start relying on that for balance, but really try to focus on that front leg, and you should be using that glute to stand up and push forward. One way to ensure that this is happening is to think about sinking your hips back as far as possible and really stretching your glutes and hamstrings. This is called loading your hips. And another thing to look for when you're trying to load your hips is keeping your shin angle as perpendicular to the floor as possible. You see, I have a little bit of forward travel with my knee, but for the most part it's staying fairly vertical, and that's what you really want. You also want to keep your chest nice and tall, and again, really feel that stretch in your glutes and hamstrings before pushing back up through your glutes. Once you feel comfortable with the body weight variation, you can add some weight. I did this by putting those ankle weights on my shoulders, but you could also hold some dumbbells, you could hold a plate in front of you, you could do basically anything that's going to add weight. You could do a kettlebell, whatever you want to do, but the easiest way for me at home was to add those ankle weights, which are surprisingly versatile actually. So another 3 to 4 sets of these. I think I did 15 reps each leg, and that's pretty much as I could handle because these are really hard. Next up, we moved on to using the door-mounted resistance bands. So these bands are really cool because there's a little loop that you can put in your door, and it kind of acts as a cable tower. So I used this setup for some cable / resistance band pull-throughs, and for these you really just want to think about pivoting at your hip, loading your hips by kind of sinking back, stretching those glutes and hamstrings, and then you'll notice that I kind of pause at that maximal stretch, and that is so I can flex my glutes in that stretch position and ensure that I'm using my glutes to propel myself forward. You should not be using your lower back, you should not be using your quads. This should be predominantly a glute and hamstring motion, a glute and hamstring movement. So make sure that you are flexing your glutes in that stretched position and really thrusting through at the top and getting that nice squeeze. The next exercise is kind of the same thing. You want to pause briefly at the bottom and feel your glutes in that stretched position, and these are some squats. So what I actually did to increase the resistance of this was to use multiple bands looped together. That's another thing that's cool about this set, is you can kind of customize the resistance based on what you need. So for this one, I actually doubled up on bands to get better resistance, especially since this, you're kind of leaning back, and that takes away from a little bit of the resistance, so you might need to double up. Things to think about in this one are to make sure that you have, again, a vertical shin angle or even less than vertical, and then you really want to sit back and sink into your glutes. This is not going to be the type of squat that you would do with a barbell. You're going to put a lot of your weight behind your center of gravity. So that's kind of where these resistance bands come in handy. They help you balance, and you can also utilize a little bit of a forward lean with your torso, and that's just going to help your glutes and hamstrings stretch a little bit more as well. After that, I tweaked the resistance band setup once again, and this is just using the lightest band doubled up. I decided to do some kickbacks, and I really like kickbacks with a resistance band just because I feel like it goes really well with the glute activation that you need for this range of motion. You can see I do a little bit of like a skateboarder motion where I bend my knee slightly at the bottom and then straighten my leg at the top. I find that that is really beneficial for getting good contractions. I also like to pause at the top. Again, that's a very common thing that you'll see in my glute training and works really well for most people. Another key for this one is to stabilize yourself on something. If I'm at the gym, I actually prefer doing this on a bench, so you're kind of kneeling on the bench. But if there isn't a bench available, or if you're at home, you can either lean on the weight tower, or you can lean against the wall, which you're seeing here. And that helps A, keep you stabilized, and B, keeps your lower back from hurting. A lot of people complain that their lower back gets tired or sore during these, and that's just because you're using way too much of your lower back. So try stabilizing on something, try leaning forwards, and you should get a lot better activation and just be a lot more comfortable during this exercise. Next up, with this same setup, I did some Bandit Abductions, holding onto a chair this time. This is kind of similar to the fire hydrants we did earlier, but just with a different setup. You definitely want to play around with where your feet are placed, how you lean forward, all that stuff, because everyone feels this a little bit differently and has different biomechanics, so a different setup is going to be optimal for each person, but you just want to play around until you feel very stable and can get good activation in that outer glute. You can also try having the resistance band in front of or behind your planted foot, and again, you kind of want to pause at the top and make the most out of that contraction. So for the burnout, I moved on to doing some banded jump squats, and these are killer. I did 3 sets of this. The first set I did 25 jump squats, and by the third set I think I only managed 15 because these are pretty hard after everything else we already did. So I am doing these with the resistance band underneath my knees again to kind of force those outer glutes to stay active and round out the booty, and then immediately moved on to some seated abductions. This is a very light resistance band, but I promise if you do enough reps and if you are using the proper mind-muscle connection, you will really feel a burn on these. So again, 15 to 25 reps. I think I might have even gone up to 35 with these because the band is pretty light, and I did 3 rounds of that and was pretty dead. So that is the workout. I hope you guys enjoyed this voiceover. I hope you learned something about at-home workouts or glute training in general. If you did, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and comment below. I am also considering doing a at-home workout guide similar to Sculpted Strong, but for those of you that like to work out from home or in your dorm room or anything like that. So if that interests you, please leave a comment below. If I get enough interest, I will make that happen, but you gotta let me know. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.